Okay, welcome everyone to the 11th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Thursday, October 19th, 2017. And I apologize for a delay in today's broadcast, but I believe we're ready to go now with Mr. Kesh and Caroline on the other line to give us some direction for today's broadcast. My name is Rick Crammond as your host, and I think we're ready to go. Hello, Mr. Kesh or Caroline, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you very much for being here. This is part of the program which we're trying to find a solution for what has been brought in by people of Togo and the situation in Caribbeans from the disasters. There has been some movement in respect to Togo, as we have heard from Paul earlier on today. There has been some movement from his side. We wait for him to come and explain, and we'll see what we can do, what we can ask. I can see Alex is online, and we'll see how we can extend this work through. We have asked our people in Ghana to approach the government in respect and intermediate intervention with Keshe Foundation and Ghanaian government officials, that we see how we can proceed with this situation. We have to wait to hear from Paul. I do not see him online, and we have to see how we can take this step further. In respect to situation in Caribbeans, we have heard from Tom. He is moving into the island where he came from. He cannot go to Puerto Rico, but he's going to where he was before. We have covered all his needs that he can move. He's putting his materials together, and hopefully within the next few days he'll be on his way there. He's going to spend 1 month there. If anybody would like to join him for this purpose into the island which he's going to, you can coordinate with him. We open a line with him that anybody needs. You can go to this, to the situation or the website which we have set up, that you can say you want to work with Tom in the section of the island which he goes to, and then you can learn from him. It's a disaster point that in a way we have to develop this, what we call rapid response, but not in a way to jump in at that time, but be able to plan a long-term support for this kind of situation, for these parameters. We have to see what comes on the table. Does anybody see Tom in the background by any chance? Or do you see Paul in the background?
Paul was in earlier, but I don't see him there now. There is Jibani, who is working with Paul, I believe, in Togo. But we don't see Paul or Tom here at this point. Any other information in the background about that from our support team? Would you like to ask Jibani to talk, Mr. Kesh? I see.
If he's there, if he's got a connection to Paul, yes.
Yes, I am present, Mr. Kesh. Jibani from Togo.
Yes, thank you very much for coming in. Is Paul with you, or do you know where Paul is, or you are part of the same team?
We are in the same team. He will come now.
How long would he be?
Yes, he will come now online, please.
Okay, can you tell us what's happening from your point of view?
Okay, I will say that now our government with the army do their best. So it is not like yesterday. We are waiting that this peace will be very long. and the situation will be better. But now our wish is to get government and the opposition to understand their together and sit to see how to let our country go in a good way. So the problem is that the government don't want to sit down and the government to understand and know how to help our country to go in the good way. So government say that opposition to come and sit. The opposition don't want to come and sit with the government. That is the problem. But we are doing our best, sending messages, preparing the person, people to understand that we don't have to go in the war. We have to sit and to understand ourselves and let our country go in the good way. That is the small thing I can give you now and wait together to find a solution to our country. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you, everybody.
I, I
Thank you very
s-
much for being there.
I see Paul is in here now. Paul, can you speak?
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, hello everyone.
Yes, Paul, we just heard from your colleague the situation as it is, and what can the foundation do in this situation?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you, Kesh Foundation, for bringing this opportunity to go to come back at the origin of the peace. In reality, to
We have
in
lost you, Paul. Can you repeat?
reality was the land of peace.
We cannot hear you, Paul, properly. You're breaking up. Can you hear me, Paul? Rick, can you hear me?
She can hear you
Yeah,
fine.
I think he just lost connection.
I see his microphone's open, but we're not hearing him, so you just have to be patient, probably. He dropped out.
We use his colleague to, because his line seemed to be better.
Okay, Jabani, would you like to open your microphone and speak? Now
Okay,
Paul's back.
no problem.
Paul's back,
I
but I'm
think
not
Paul
sure.
have small problem of connection. Very soon he will have to resolve it and come back online. So I was telling that we are sending messages to all population to prepare them to accept that in one country it's not possible to live and we don't want to communicate. So we are contribute with giving peace to our nation. We cannot have development without peace. We are sending messages. Now we have the result. We have back and they are saying that yes, it's good. It is not possible to develop the country without communication. So we are doing our best to meet government and let them speak with Mr. Kesh. And after that, have meeting with opposition and all leaders of our country. We are planning to get small travel going the place that it is not good to do meeting with them, changing with them good way for
We are losing you.
for peace. It is the problem of connection.
Let's see if we can hear from Paul now. Paul, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, now I let Paul continue.
You got to share between two of you. Whenever one drops off, the other one to carry on, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Mr. Jibani, you have to be online and you have to be prepared. You know everything about the process. If my connection go out, you come back. So I want to thank Mr. Kesh. I want to thank everyone for the foundation for offering this opportunity of peace for Togo. I was saying that Togo was since our ancestral land of peace. Togo, but it now around 1 month and that some people who don't like Togo to be the peace land start trouble our country. And where they start is the place of Muslim place, where they can manipulate easily the people to enter in their game. And in this process,
We are losing you, Paul, again. It's very...
they just play with the need of the population. And the
We can't
place,
hear you. We can't hear you
the
clearly. Oh,
reality of the place where the movement starts is that the people don't want to go to school.
Paul, we can't hear you what you're talking about. It's very choppy.
Perhaps Jibani can more or less translate.
Hello, Jibali.
Not very well. No, we don't hear you too well.
Okay, now, Paul,
So go ahead.
the place where the problem comes from, they are taking relations
Hello.
to manipulate.
Hello.
Okay, Paul's back now.
Okay, Paul is coming. Okay, I let Paul talk.
Go ahead, Paul.
I just changed the line of connection and come back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'm continue.
Okay.
I was telling that they take the relations.
Before you continue, Giovanni, if you could do something with your microphone, we're getting a lot of noise. It's either something touching the microphone, or perhaps it's wind noise. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of rustling there. If you could clarify that. Now we're not. Now we don't have much of a connection. Can you try again? Go ahead.
So I was saying that it is good now.
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
It's a little broken up, but we can hear the words.
Yes.
Talk slowly
I was
and go
telling
ahead.
that the problem comes from the manipulation. They are taking religion. They are taking religion in Africa. If you take the way of the religion, it is very uh,
Sorry, we're not hearing you now. Having trouble with that connection. Hello, Jabani?
they are taking religion.
I'm sorry, we're only getting a few broken up words there.
And good.
Sorry, we're not hearing you. Paul should be coming back in shortly. Okay, we heard that.
Is good. Hello, Mr. Can you hear me?
Barely. It's sometimes we can hear, sometimes not.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I heard you say, "Can you hear me now?" Go ahead. I'm sorry, we're not hearing you. You see, Flint is suggesting that they might be able to call one of the numbers on Zoom, and they might have bandwidth to make a straight phone call. Put that. I'll put that in the chat so they have that to refer to.
When Paul comes on, ask him to give his number in private to you, that we can call him back. It can be done.
Okay, that's an idea. Thank you.
I'm line. Hello.
Hello, yes, we hear you now. Go ahead. Well, we did hear you.
Hello.
I hear hello. Hello. Go ahead, Jabani.
Okay. I was telling that
It's not working too well. You've cut out again. In fact, it dropped the connection for him. Okay. Still waiting for Paul to come back. He should be back shortly.
Can you hear me, or we're gonna carry on without?
I'm still. We can hear you, Mr. Kesh. I've been given Paul's number. Not sure what to do with that.
Okay, can you send it to me on my Zoom, please, and I'll call him. If you put it on the Zoom, I pick it up, and then we call through different channels and see if we can reach him.
I see Paul just got back in.
I sent you a message there, Mr. Kesh.
Got it, picked it up.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear us now?
Yes, I am back.
Okay.
I have changed the line.
Okay.
We hope it will go. Can you hear me now clearly?
Better.
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Carry on, Paul.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. So, first of all, I want to thank all Kesh Foundation, Knowledge Seeker, Mr. Kesh, staff of Kesh Foundation to wish for the peace process for Togo. I was saying that time piece of lands.
Paul,
Hello.
if you can hear me, I'm calling you on your number. Can you respond to the telephone?
Hello.
Hi, Paul. Can you?
Hello. Yeah. Hi. Okay. So
Can you respond to your phone, Paul, please? I think we might have a better line than where you are now.
And then he can drop out of Zoom.
Hi, Paul. Yes, can we speak with Paul, please?
Yes, this is Paul.
Okay, Paul. Can you speak to it on this line? It seems to be better.
Have Paul leave the Zoom meeting or shut down the Zoom app on his phone.
So I have to leave the Zoom meeting?
Please, for the time being.
Okay.
Or leave it on, it doesn't matter. We can carry on. But Rick, can you hear him on the phone?
Can you bring him closer to the mic?
Hello. I think the line is off now.
Yes. Okay, carry on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. So first of all, I want to thank Mr. Kesh, Caroline, DK member, and the rest of the knowledge seeker who take care of the peace process
Just 1 second, please.
It's
Wait 1 second. Rick,
it's
can
hard
you
to
hear
hear.
him on the mobile?
It's
On
pretty
my
hard to
mic?
hear. It's very weak.
Is he on the speakerphone?
Yeah, if you
If
put
you
him
put
on the
your phone in speaker
speakerphone,
mode and then
if you
hold
can
that
do that
next
where
to
you're
your
at.
mic.
Yes, but can you hear him because he's speaking?
Very,
We
very
can
faintly.
hear it, but it's
Need to
very
come closer to
faint.
the mic.
The mic is literally in the phone. Okay, let's see what we can do. Carry on, Paul. Let's see whatever it is. Maybe I can pass on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh.
You need to shout.
Okay.
Just 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Caroline, can we have the blue speaker, please? Yeah. Just 1 second. Maybe we have a solution. 1 second, please. We're going to add a system that everybody can hear. Just give me 1 minute. I've got to set it up. Just 1 second, please. Yeah. Okay. Can we pick it up? No. Can you speak, Paul? No, we cannot pick it up on the Bluetooth. Just 1 second. 1 second, please. Let me see if I can just pick it up on the Bluetooth. It's this. It's okay. That's all right. Correct. Just 1 second. Can you speak now? Yeah. Okay.
Zoom line.
Yes, it's okay. You can speak on the phone now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. So,
Much better, thank you.
Is this good enough? Just 1 second, Paul.
Yes, that's
You can hear him?
working. That's working, Mr. Kesh. Much better, thank you.
Okay. Carry on, Paul. We stay on this line. Just leave your Zoom alone. Carry on.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Kesh, Caroline, ECA member, and knowledge seeker, and the rest of the mankind who take care of the peace process in Togo. I was saying that Togo was for the long time since our ancestors the land of peace. And Togo was made by association of ethnic which have run where was the war in the past. And this is called Togo. So when it will have first and the second war, so people run from Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, Burkina Faso, Niger, Ethiopia, and the rest of Africa, and then come and install in Togo. So Togo is association of people who have run where was the war. And as the origin, they have become the organization of territory of peace. And this is still second war. Togo never have what you call the war. And when the colonial system was there, German and French all was taking Togo like the peace lands, and all system for control in Africa was installed in Togo. And the German, in the time of colonization, have called Togo model colonial because economy was high, the peace also was high according to the origin of the people living in Togo. So from there, we are sole sharing the territory of Togo has ever and now keep the peace and the nature around the world. So we stay in peace, and in Africa, everybody know about the peace lands, which is Togo. You don't have to be worried about peace in Togo. Yes, we are. Everybody know. When you come in Togo, you run as there is the end of the war. There is never, ever war or gangster in the world, because all is in control. Government of Togo have do all their best to offer and keep this peace for all inhabitants. But we have constated now, since 1 month and a half, we start getting the trouble of peace. And this trouble of start from one area meaning Sokode, which is Muslim place, Muslim zone. So it is the need of population. And need of population is now manipulated by the politicians to destroy the Togo. And a lot of resources coming from Togo, we have phosphate culture, and now also the petrol. And the petrol of Togo is very, very strategic for the main powerful country in the world, because the petrol of Togo carries the petrol of 6 nations. It's just the position of Togo is just like the position of Iraq. So from that, the main powerful country in the world start seeing this opportunity to become more and more richer man in the world by exploiting our resource. So they start now try by which place or where they can enter or create the conflict to be able to exploit our resource. And they have started from the Muslim zone, like I have said, which name is Sokode. So they manipulate the population by one politician leader named Titi Achadam. So from there, we start the manifestation in Togo. And the first line of manifestation coming of the mouth of Titi was go back to Constitution of 92. And when government listen to that, government have introduced the modification of Constitution at the Assembly. And when they see that this game cannot be done because it was not that they was inspecting that government refused to modify the Constitution, to go back to the 92 Constitution. So when they see that government have accepted, they say no, now we don't need this Constitution of 92. want to know President go immediately, leave the country immediately, and then they have to take back, they have to take or carry now the president. And this is the situation in Togo. And government said that we have the law, and our law authorizes us to stay as long as we need at the head of the nation. What you need, we have accepted it, and we ask to the deputy to modify our constitution to go back to 2 mandats for every president and also for all deputies. Now, this government have accepted this, they change the language. They are not talking now about the constitution of 92. They are now talking about president leave the head of the nation. And when we analyze, we see that this is not possible because they came with the first line, which was good for all countries. And the president also was saying that it is the best thing you have asked for the nation. Go back to 92. But the president said that we need to change every 10 years, every deputies and all governments. No one have authorization to stay more than 10 years. This is what the president and the government have said. And they say no, they don't need this. They say they only need the president leave the head of the nation. They forget that we have the law in this country. What they are asking now is against the law of our nation. And in Togo, most of people are intellectual. And where we didn't get more intellectual is exactly a Muslim place where people don't want to go to school. They only go to stay in the market, and they are what you call most of the time the driver of this country. So they didn't go to school. And in the history of Togo, one time when we got the civil war, most of the people who haven't studied was allowed to go out of the country, especially in Germany. And in the plan of the leader of opposition, this is what they are asking for. As they didn't study, as they didn't go to school, they need to create the civil war. And then from the civil war, they want to ask for from embassy exile. And they have a lot of their brother in Germany. This is one of the first reasons why they are doing that. And the second reason is
can you repeat
we
the last?
have
Can you repeat the last couple of sentences? What happened in Germany?
Yes, Mr. Kesh. So I was saying that in the history of Togo, we have one time the trouble about the civil war. The civil war was announced. And then to prevent this, foreign countries have offered the place or have offered the hospitality to the person who was not accepted in the community. And from there, a lot of people who didn't study have gone in Europe, especially in Germany. And this is the ethnic of the one who are asking for who have initiated the movement. So when we look in the situation, the first line is they want themselves to create the civil war to be able to get the exile in foreign countries because they didn't study. That is why themselves, they carry the gun and those tools of war and attack those people who live in this area. Second is they have financed by those funds. We did not know the source of the financial. So they have money to do what they are doing now. And recently, the government, after the first trouble, have initiated a request to investigate about the situation. And they have found a lot of fake money, millions and millions of fake money in the hand of those people who are asking to fight, who are going to fight. It meaning that people have supplied them the fake money, and for them they have money and they have to go to fight to be able to take now the head of the nation and do what they want. So there is one hand behind their action. So this needs international investigation to be able to understand or to know which person is at the behind of this movement. So from there, like I have said, intellectual people, when they analyze the situation, they are not finding the reason to go in the road, or they are not finding the reason to go and fight those people. So they refuse. And the only person they can manipulate it is the people who didn't go to the school, who didn't study. So they have started also with another place named Mango, which is another place of a Muslim zone. And then from there, they came back to another zone named Bakilo. So also the Muslim zone. So they have started by non-religion to instigate the war. And last Friday, the Imam of the big mosque have asked in his prayer to all Muslims to go and fight, to go and burn the house of the military, the authority, and the rich people in Togo. So what he have asked was planned to be done. I think, Monday. And then government by the research have got the information and go arrest the imam who have called the people to go and make the war and fight and burn. And when the government, or I can say the justice, ordered to arrest this imam, so from there, he has promised to the Muslim that nothing can reach to him because he have the spiritual power and no one can touch him. So, government take action by justice and go and say to him, first of all, government send one group of people to go and say to him, what you are asking is not good for all the country. You are asking the people to go and fight. You are asking the people to go and burn. This is not good for all of us. So please stop. Stop asking this kind of action for the population. And when government starts sending people, so we say to the people that he is more power than the government, so he have the power, people can go and burn. He will not accept the offer to don't investigate the war. They need to go to the head of the nation. So this is what he has said, and then the justice take action and go to arrest them. And when the justice go to arrest him, please. So now, as we have predicted, people go and start burning the public edifices like bank, like car, like the rich people shop, and all things they have find, they start burning it. And they go to attack the camp of military camp. And the military was not get the order from the Minister of Security to use their guns. And when you see the picture and what's happening there, they have killed a lot of army people who have the guns in their hands, but because of they don't have the order from the Minister of Security, they didn't use their guns, and most of them have been killed. And the population.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, Paul? This is important for what is important. What is your position in this situation now? What do you explain? Well, let me explain to you some. What you are telling me, it brings back a lot of memories. We've seen this in a number of revolutions. I've seen the same as you're discussing in the Iranian revolution. Copycat. We've seen the same thing in a number of other revolutions in Middle East. So, and in that process, we know who's been the instigators. What you explained to us now has opened the book. It's the work of what you explained. We understand what it is. At least we get a grasp of what it is. But what is important? What is Keshe Foundation Togo is doing?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Keshe, for that. I will reach at this point. Our position is to stabilize and maintain the peace. And to be able to do that, this was why I was telling the history. Now the government are waiting for opposition to discuss and then take action. So opposition refused to go at the table of negotiation. And then are asking the people to go and burn day by day. So this is the final situation. The opposition don't want to negotiate with the government. So our position is to maintain and keep the peace. And to be able to do that, we need to conscientize these people. We need to find the reason or to let the soul of these people going and burning
to find the reason.
Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you how it works, and then with what I explain to you, you have to find a solution, positive solution to these parameters. In the setup, this is very much, you explained a lot of things in the background, which what I call mature politicians understand, people in the world of diplomacy understand. That what you explain is a print copy of many, many revolutions. And there, as I said now, what you explain, it tells us exactly who's behind it. As you cannot see, we see. I assume this is the situation when you brought the case up past couple of days ago. But the problem is, how can we not only change the situation in Togo, but the next country which the same plan is going to be done? What you as Togo members of the Universal Council, and as a member of the, what I call, this planet, this society, we have to understand this is a process which is repeating itself again and again, and it's done by two groups. We know who these groups are, and we've seen the same process. It's no difference. But we have two choices. We can carry on doing what's looking and talking, or it'll be interesting to see, as members of the Togo Keshe Foundation, what positive solution you can put forward. You got to understand how it works. Let me explain the process. You explained false money which is in the market appeared. This shows it's a well organized by a German group. We know who they are. They've done this many times, flooding nations with the false money, giving people a lot of suitcases of money which is fake, but flooding it so much that the central bank cannot support, so it becomes part of the currency. Then in creating a mayhem with always Muslims, because one man, as you exactly explained, becomes a spiritual leader, and the sentimentality in Islam creates this condition. We have the same sentimentality in Israel, in Judaism, and in Christianity. But what is important is to understand what solution can you offer. The money is so much in the market floating. People get paid a suitcase, they don't know the difference between the real and fake, and this fake and real money becomes part of the real money of the nation in the market. And this will this destabilizes the nation. What you tell us here gives a clear indication of the plan to stabilize the West Africa, and we see it today. What you explain brings a lot of things to understand more. The way you explain by killing people, going and burning, we've seen this in all the revolutions in the past few years. Now, what they call the spring uprising in the North Africa now is becoming the winter downfall in Africa, in West Africa. This is the beginning of emptying all the central banks of the West Africa in different way. But what is important is how, as the members of the Keshe Foundation Togo and us as the members of the Keshe Foundation worldwide, are going to change the position. What can we do? Influentially, we are very powerful because we know how to work through the soul of the man. On the other hand, how can you interact with these people? What you explained to us about the mullah or imam saying that he's more powerful, he can do, they can't handle him. We saw this in the Iranian Revolution. So this is a beginning of a mess which will last decades. And this is, as you said, you explained, Germany, France and England are part of it. You have to understand the problem comes to me is for the Christians. You approach the leader of the Christian community to approach the Islamic leaders to call for peace. You don't fight on the opposite. You fight within that, they fight within themselves. My suggestion to you is approach the Christian leaders very rapidly and ask the Christian leaders to call the Islamic leaders into on the table of negotiation, be part of it. Unless the system is set up somewhere else to use the Muslims for this purpose, and go public with it. They stay in public domain. Ask your military to approach, not the military way, but fight the fire with the love of God. This is a fire which has started and you can dampen it very rapidly down. Go to the church leaders, the head of the churches, and put it in there that what we call the unification of the faith. We are all the same. You are burning Christian houses and you're Muslims, and this cannot be. Let them come into play. And then you see the game. If they are part of it or if they are not part of it. But through the soul of what we understand, you can reach both sides. You have access to the military. Do not use the gun. As you said, they found soldiers with a gun in their hand, they've been shot. We saw thousands of Iranian soldiers the same way. Because these are not tokens. The people who burn, they might speak Togo language, but they're not from Togo. More than 24 Italian Arab speaking started the revolution in Libya. The rest of it, we know what happened to Libya. No Libyan started the war. What do you explain? You have to bring about that it's not the government which is dealing with the Muslims, it's the Christians which have come forward. Put this to the nation, that the Christian nation, Christian leaders in the nation have to bring the Islamic leaders on the table of peace. This is the way to break this up. We saw the mayhem which ran for years between South and North Sudan, Islam, Muslims and Christians. To dismantle this process, you have to put men who speak the same language to each other. This is the way the peace has to be handled wherever Muslims go on attack, because these are not Muslims, these are African looking, maybe Togon language speaking, but in fact the paymaster sits in Berlin. We understand exactly what you explain, where it comes. But you have to understand, you put the Christians against the Muslims, where the Christians become the peacemakers. This is the mission we know is provoked by Vatican, to use Christianity to be the peacemakers, put them to test. I've had a meeting with the high-level people from Vatican in past few days, and they want to be the peacemakers. We talk. You approach your army to approach the head of church and ask the head of church to call the head of Muslims in. Bring the faith together, you don't touch the army. If you find the Christian leaders refuse to do so, you bring in the Keshe Foundation. But this is the way it is. I can speak directly into Vatican within the next few hours to our contacts and ask for them to put pressure on the people in Togo in the church, that they become peacemakers. We've been assured by people in Vatican that Christianity wants to become the peacemaker. Let's test it. This is as past 7 days, 10 days I've been on the table with them. You initiate it. Let me know what happens. Speak to the heads of military to bring the Christians to call for peace and brotherhood in the nation, and see how the Islamic leaders, you disarm them before even they go any further. You disarm them through, not through arms, you disarm them through their own path of belief. meet with the
Yes,
military?
Mr. Keshe, I have to confirm something about what we are talking about now.
Yeah.
When these manifestations have started, the leader of a Christian church has made the meeting where they clearly produce the text where they support clearly the manifestation, and then they say that they are not support the government. And
Who?
this is exactly what we are explaining now. This is the
Who?
Catholic Church leaders.
They are not supporting the government. The Christians are not supporting the government, you mean?
Yes, the leader of Catholic Church said that they are not support the government, and what they have produced like a test is still there. And the government said that how the leader of the church, like Vatican democrat, can say that they are not support the peace. And
are they supporting the peace? Are they support? Is that they are not supporting the peace or they are not supporting the government? It's a big difference.
Okay.
If is the situation that you got an unjust leadership or president, that everybody wants the president out, is a different matter. If the situation is what we see in Middle East and what we've seen in Africa, depleting the assets of a nation, which it looks like it. When you print money like this and you put it in the market, it has one direction. And most probably, when we have to understand, you have to understand it again, do they want to change the government or is it to destabilize the nation? There's a big difference. When you try to destabilize a nation, you try to rob the central bank. This is a technique used by British and by the Germans in Second World War, and in what we call a spring uprising in North Africa. We see a very clear pattern. The work is just they go from one nation to another. There is no problem till when you enter fake money into a market, then it means the stabilization is needed, because they are not interested. The pattern is to use Togo as an unrest position to sell more arms around the West Africa, which is becoming a rich nation in finance. This is what is to be aware of. So if the Christians are not supporting the government, what's the reason for it? You have to approach both. You approach the Christian leadership and the Muslims and the government, and see what solution, the way you work, you can find as a negotiator between the three. If you see the pattern of preset revolution to disbalance the West Africa, because West Africa is now becoming one of the richest zones in the continent, and secondly in the world as a growth rate, then this is stabilization of the organization by people who see it as the next step for rest of the Africa. The resources, the reserves and everything else. So my suggestion to you is approach all three, the government, the Christians and the Muslims, and try to find a common ground. That what is the problem? Why do the Christians don't support the government, and they don't support peace? And what is common between Christians and the Muslims in trying to change the government? Or you have to understand, a lot of these leaders, especially Islamic leaders, imams, they are very local people, and they are paid huge amounts of money to cause these problems. Most probably the head has received 10 suitcases of the same fake money he thinks is real. and it's been promised the leadership of the nation. In your communication, you should be able to understand. It's nothing to do with Islam. It's to do with the greed of the man. You have to assess. And if it's planned outside, the people who pay the imam are the people who sit in the church with the Catholic Church. It's the same people. One kicks and the other one knows, I know who's kicking, why should I do anything about it? Because it's me who started the kicking. Politically, we understand this, what the situation and who's setting it up. We are monitoring this, we were expecting this, we expect this now in what you call Central East Asia too, the same way. So try to approach the Christian leaders, try to approach the Islamic leaders, negotiate between the two sides and elevate their souls and see what they have in common and use that smallest common denominator to go to the next step. If both sides wants to move the government, see why. There's a difference between the peace and there's a difference between changing government. You have to understand what's the purpose. If the government needs to be changed, you can call for a re-election. They can call in for a re-election. If the point is to create mayhem, disability in West Africa to sell more arms to the other countries around it, then that needs a bigger plan by the bigger nations and a totally different approach. Approach the Christian leaders, see what they want out of it. Approach the Muslims, what they want out of it, and then see what they have in common ground. Ask for the demands for peace. What are they demanding? And then work with it. But understand that there is a lot of money, fake papers have been sent to do. You gave 2 indications. Can you do 1 check for me, please? Have you seen any of these fakes money? Paul?
Yes, Mr. Kesh. Government have made investigation through the justice, and the government have taken more than 60 million of this money that they have also shown in the public TV.
So, Paul, can you go back on your telephone? We're trying to get you back on the telephone. You dropped off on the telephone. Can you answer to your mobile, your phone, please? Can you hear me? Okay, you dropped off. What you need to do, what I'll be very interested is that, have you seen this fake money?
Yes, Mr. Church, government have when that plan to make investigation around the house of the people doing that, and the government have more than 50 of money.
Just wait 1 second, Paul. Paul, you gotta wait. Can you speak now again, that we can take you back on the system? Hello, Paul, can you speak?
Yes, Mr. Church. Yes, I can speak.
Okay. Have you seen the fake money? Have you seen this money which they said they got and it's fake? Have you seen any of it yourself?
Yes, I was saying that government have made investigation since this that around the house of the people they instigate to go and make the civil war, and government have collected 35 to 60 million of CFA of this fake money, and also the dump, and government have shown it publicly to everyone. So still is online this fake money and this guns they have collect from these people doing that.
No, what I'm interested in to know, have you seen any of it yourself?
Myself, but there is some people now, when you give some money now to everyone, so he has to check because everyone is not afraid of this fake money,
How do you
from
know
where the government
how do
collect.
you
So
know
myself,
how do they know the difference between the fake money and the real money? Is it the numbers or is it the paper or the print?
yeah, yes, in the paper there is one line, one light line. If you put money indicator of, if you put, for example, the money in indicator money, the money shall become light. And as soon as the money is not become light, it means that the money is fake. So not for now that I have seen this fake money for us. I have one time take 10,000 IFA of this fake money. Where when you go to buy, I go to buy myself, and they have taken it was the fake money. So I have one time started this fake money in my life in 2012.
I tell you what you got to do, what it got to be done. You got to look at everything in a different angle. First of all, as I said, explain to the people, to the Islamic leaders, what it is to the people who are supposed to be. Secondly, what is important is for the people to understand, speak to the leaders of both sides, religious leaders, because then let me know what is happening. Then it gives us a very clear indication what is going on that we can take the steps correctly. If you see the fake money and it looks like a real without the line, 100% it's been printed in Germany. Germany is one of the biggest places for paper which is used for the quality is as good as the currency money. They try to stop it, but it's used frequently for revolutions. For all these color revolutions, we see these kind of papers printed in Germany. It's a high quality printing paper. And I can give you bigger stories about this, and the American government can confirm it, and a lot of people who know can confirm it. The more you talk, the more narrows exactly to where we think who's behind this process. We have a history of this kind of money appearing in the banking world in billions of dollars, and it's all pre-planned. That's why they bring the money in truckloads, container loads, and then they set it up. This is a planned revolution, so we have to approach it in a new way, in showing the loss, in showing the damage to the soul, in explaining to the people who burn people's houses and they kill that they are responsible for the soul of the people who they damage. But I tell you one thing, none of them will touch a thing. It's part of your work as a Ghani, as what do you call it, Togo members of the Keshe Foundation. And if you can reach out, that explain what you kill, what you damage, you're responsible for the soul of the children, and you have to pay. You become responsible for. Let people understand violence has a burden on the soul of the man. Nobody will touch. You have to change the position. You have to bring a new concept, new understanding. And at the same time, explain to the leaders when you speak to them that anyone killed, as you are the leaders, your soul stands responsible for the function of the physicality of what they've done. You become part of the murder, part of the soul, which has to pay back because you are the ones who put the stop. Man says no, but in his sleep, in his time of solace, thinks about it, does not want to carry it. Explain this to the Islamic leaders, explain this to the people of the Christianity, explain this to the people of military and the government. Everyone is responsible for the death of the other souls, and it comes down to all of you. Which one of you wants to pay it? They have to understand even the word makes them responsible for payback of the souls. This is what they don't understand. And then you will see the change. Same time, elevate their souls that understand the change. Print a paper, circulate it to the people that this is the new way, this is what it is. Those who burn and destroy and hurt, their souls and children's souls are responsible for the ones who have killed or have damaged. Especially Muslims will understand it very, very clearly. Do you understand?
Thank you, Mr. Please explain why they have done also the bank, because when the government takes this money and show it, so they assume that it is the bank who have detected that. So they have done all the bank in this area that they will be now, I think, able to operate with this fake money.
This is part of the bank. This is part of the process of destabilization. And I can see a lot of things in it. In a coming time, these things will change. When we make money irrelevant, the way we are setting up the Keshe Foundation banking, nobody can bribe somebody else with money to burn and create mayhem. Part of this banking system is to stop these things. We are fully aware of it. The abuse of these things has been for a long time used, but people don't understand. People of Africa, people of Middle East are very simple people, and they are abused this way very frequently. So the wisdom of it is literally explain to what we thought, that go to the Christian leaders, go to the Muslim leaders, go to the government. You have to understand it's your soul which is responsible for the souls you have killed. You have to look after, and in time you and your children will have to do this. You're responsible for it. And then you make them think. Explain to the Christian leaders, it's the soul of the Christ which has to pay for what you deny another Muslim or another Christian getting killed. And put people, leaders, religious leaders, in balance with their own path of belief. Change, don't fight. Let the fight be between the soul of the man and the conscience of the man. Then you've done your work.
Getting a little hard to hear there. Maybe get a bit closer to the microphone.
Can you hear me better now?
Oh yes, that's very loud.
Yeah, because I have to put the microphone near Paul. Right. The system is set up for Paul. So what you got to do is to go to the Christian leaders, go to the Muslim leaders, go to the government and explain to them, now it's you are responsible for whoever has died, your soul, not you personally. They do not care what they have personally, but no one allows the soul to be touched because it's sacrosanct. It's the soul of Christ. So then the soul of Christ has to pay. You don't accept peace, Christ has to pay for it. Christ has to give from his soul for what you've done wrong. Let them think. Bring the game to the soul. Bring the game not to the physicality. Do you understand?
Yes, okay.
Let's see what you can do.
Another question we have in the resolution of this conflict was how to handle these people who don't have nothing to do with the manifestation, which is the toxical man they are paying to go and burn. How we are going to handle this?
That's exactly the same. Explain those who burn and hurt or kill. Their souls is responsible for it. They have to look after the children, and their children will pay for this through their. You understand? Man has to come to understand the responsibility of his soul. And this is what they could not understand up to now. We've seen it with the Christians in South America. They sign a peace treaty, but they take the word soul out of it. Because they say our soul is committed to Christ. You take the bread, you take the wine, this is my body, this is my blood. But the only thing they don't tell you, this is my soul, the soul of Christ too. The body would not have a blood, would not have a body if it didn't have a soul. So the soul is the soul of Christ. Explain this to the Christians. Explain this to the Muslims. Explain this to the people who burn. This is what it is. Let them think. Before the guy put a torch and explain, put circulation out. You have access to government. Give this for government to put in the media. Speak with the head of the military. Tell them, put this out. Let them put it on the military, on the radio, on the television, that people understand. The Christians, the Muslims, the whole nation understand. Transfer the knowledge of the soul we have taught you on the media. Speak with the military. You want to stop it, this is the way. Test it. Give the solution to the government and see that they don't need even to fight with the Muslims nor with the Christians. People will start understanding. Use the path of the soul to create peace in the nation. And you have the key. The government has all the radio, television stations. Open the door, become the most Christian television, become the most Muslim television, but teach it through the soul that you are responsible, and see how people will stop. Because you disarm the mullahs by the word of Muhammad, bless his name. Their word is not about Muhammad. Do you understand?
Yes, Mr. Kesh.
Approach to.
So we are also planning now the. So we are also now planning the different conference of peace as staff of Kesh Foundation Togo in different places where we have these manifestations to be able to unite all parts and start discuss with them to see how to find the solution.
I gave you the solution.
So for that,
I gave you the solution, Paul. These people have to understand. These people have to understand they're responsible. And it's not just burning the house. Whoever dies in the house, the soldier they killed, they're responsible for the soul. And the children to be paid. Their children has to pay for it, to look after it. And the priest who says, I don't support peace, has to stand in front of the Christ. The soul of Christ, the soul of themselves. How to do it. Let them become the judge of themselves in their soul level, because the creator of their physicality. You will see the change of course. When Imam gives the order to burn, or he's more powerful, put him in balance, not only with his soul, but the soul of Muhammad, bless his name, if he is higher. And they'll tell them what it says in Quran about the soul of the man, the beauties of the soul of the man. And then let's see what they said. And you're a master in these things, Paul. Approach the government, give them the solution, they'll have it. If it's an unjust government, it's a different matter. If your government is correct and just, it still will be the same. You will get the positive result.
thank you, Mr. Kesh.
The biggest controller of the man is the soul of the man. And it's hard to teach because always been told is somewhere, it doesn't exist. Explain to them that's where the soul is. Maybe it gives you a ground to teach them new knowledge and technology, understanding of the soul of the man in the process too. That it changes people altogether. Fighting takes too much, especially physical fighting. When you put the fight between the soul of the man and the conscious of the man, soul always wins. Let me know what you can do. I read your message this morning. Go and try to approach the government with the message I gave him. Speak to the general. If he wants to put him online, we speak to him. Yeah? And use the mass media for creation of the peace the way it should be. And then know the Christians and know the Muslim leaders will count, but the nation will move that way.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you. Indeed.
So we are taking a meeting with the head of military, who will talk with you tomorrow online, and then we will see together how to handle the situation, and we will now go through to the piece of the solution you have to have. We will collect and directly go to the man who are throwing the fish, and we will start negotiation and we will start discussion with them.
Negotiation.
But one thing I noticed.
Carry on, please.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying that one thing we notice is that when you approach and tell frankly to someone who tries to do bad things, that you are doing that, and we know, then he got in trouble and he took his action. So I think it is one of the beautiful solutions you have to have, and we will go directly to, we will negotiate first, we will try to get from them what they think about. We already know what they have said. We will try to get directly from them what they are thinking about the situation, and then we will tell directly to them. If they are not going in the direct way, we will tell them directly that we know that they are doing that in the background and they have to stop that. And I think it is one of the beautiful solutions when you say to the bad people directly what they are doing that you know. So he got in trouble and they will find a way to keep himself and he will never do that. Yes. I think it is really the beautiful solution who can call to them to be aware about the next generation and about what they are going to let like heritage to the next generation. Most of the time, like you have said, they didn't let the children, these priests and the rest, the leader of Catholic Church, was being in this organization to become, in the way to become the priest. And I have studied theology, Bible theology for 3 years. So I know about the mentality of these people, and I think they know about me at the head of this organization, because when as soon as I have contacted that, it was a lot of things going in the wrong way with what they are saying to do. I go directly to the leader of our local Catholic Church, and I say to them, I cannot become priest in the way that you are manipulating. I say that what we are saying in public is different than what we have to do in the reality. And in this way, I cannot become the priest. And this was the way I have refuse to become rich. So that why I will be the priest today. So I have understand because we don't have children, they don't worry about the new generation, the future, because for them, the world and the universe stop when they die. So this is the mentality of the kind of people doing that, especially from Pakistan. And I think we will take we need a lot of courage that we don't fear of anything. We will go directly to them and then we will get what we need to get, and we will come back to you.
Carry my message to them exactly what I explained to you. And let them understand the time is gone, they could give the order. Their soul stands for the damage is done. They are responsible. The man who pulls the bullet is not the murderer and doesn't carry all of it. The man who said killing is right, destroying is right, is not just killing a man. When you destroy property of the man, it's his life work. He's put his soul into it. So you damage or you take from him. So the man who says you can do has taken from the soul. And understand that they take from the soul of the nation.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. We will bring this message to them.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much. I disconnect the line. This is important for us to understand a lot of things. In a recent meeting with the Catholic Church, two messages has been conveyed to the Keshe Foundation directly. That the Catholic Church wants to be the flagship of peace, and they want to be the tool to make peace. When we hear things like this, that the Church says they don't want to make peace or whatever, they don't support the peace, it has a different reason. So in the next few hours I'll speak to our connections and I'll most probably travel back to Rome to understand this, because negotiating within Catholic Church is not so easy if they don't understand, as there is a fight within the Catholic Church itself as it is. So it is important for me to understand. And at the same time, Paul, you carry on with what we have suggested, and in the long run we see what will be achieved and what can be achieved. This is part of the process we have to understand. We are getting educated. And we need to be educated. In so many ways is for us to be able to see, and for us to be able to understand the whole process. And in so many ways we need to educate ourselves with the reality of what is happening in the background with different motions. I'll give you an example of what exactly happened very recently. We're talking past decades. One of the merchants in the world, in a very innocent way, bought large sum of papers. When the paper arrived at the point of destination to be used for printing books, they realized that this paper is good for printing money. The central bank, the government, in their way, took and in so many ways made copies of one of the major currencies and printed billions of dollars on a fake money to destabilize money market. And they use it. You could go to a house, or they could bring you a suitcase with millions of the currency in the suitcase. But what at the end was, it showed a new way of destabilization. And Now it's getting used the way we heard from Paul. Um, we are aware of a lot of these games which is played recently, but at the same time we have to be aware, we have to show a new solution. No one, no one will allow their soul to be touched, because this is sacrosanct, even in the Islamic world, in the Christianity. Now that they know that the soul is the creator of themselves and it has stands responsible, they will not touch, they will change. It's us for us to educate, and this is the beauty of it. We'll wait and see what happens. Please let us know, and then we take it to the next step in our work. Do we see anybody from, or does anybody else have a comment or any suggestions from the member of the councils or anybody else, please, in respect to Togo?
Good evening, everybody. It's Caroline. I am present in the wish for Paul to achieve peace through the path of the soul.
I am present for that.
I am present.
I am present for that wish.
I am present.
I am present.
Me too.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
Can we go to the situation which has been brought out through Caribbeans? Do you see Tom anywhere by any chance?
I just want to say, Mr. Kesh, Jugbani had his hand up for a while. I'm not sure if he had something he wanted to say about that or not,
please,
just to finish off. Are you go ahead.
Yes. I just want to add something. When Mr. Kesh was asking question to know that what is the position of the leaders of church. What I want to add, the problem comes from the constitution we are calling Constitution for 1992. So the opposition tells the government that in the Constitution of 1992 was given by all the population. In 2003, the government modified this constitution, which inside we don't have now the limitation of the head of state mandate. So it means that if you are the head of state of Togo, you can be the head of state, no limitation. And they modify the age of being the head of state. So now all the leaders of the oppositions are saying that our head of state, after his mandate, will be in 2020. They are saying that if this term comes, our head of state will be again candidates. However, For 1992, we don't have limitation. So the position of the church leaders for first time of the beginning of this situation was that if government want to have peace, they have to understand what the population are saying about this constitution of 1992. And the government said that the constitution of 1992 was modified in three. So they tell government that as the situation of opposition, we have to accept and bring this constitution of 1992. And the government take another rules or another text, bring to our assembly, tell them they accept to have the limitation of the mandate of head of state, but they have to bring the new constitution. And the opposition say no, they don't want another constitution. They want the constitution of 1992. Otherwise, the head of state will go. We don't want him again.
Can I ask you a question?
The government,
the constitution,
yes.
Can I ask a question? The 1992 allows
Yes.
the presidential 2 terms or 1 term or 3 terms?
2 terms.
So
and modify
in that way, carry on.
Yes, yes. When they modify in 2003, we don't have limitation.
This we see in a lot of countries. That's what I said. You have to approach both the government, the Islamic leaders, and the Christians, that to understand anybody, any deaths, anything damage, any loss, does not be in a physical way, they are responsible for. Get the government to put out that if this is it, they are responsible. The soul of the leaders are responsible for these deaths, for these losses. That's why I said it becomes irrespective of constitution. Creating a peace, then the constitution can be changed. This war, killing to create changes has to stop.
Okay.
And as I said before, a few minutes ago to Paul, take it to the government. When you put it into the government, the nation follows. The Christians, the Muslims, the nationals, even the government has to listen to what it says. The leaders are responsible. We see this in a number of countries. We saw that with the re-election of the election of the Gambia, which was one of the best examples of it early this year, which the leader refused to go even after the election. There are constitutions they are trying to force with this to bring that it becomes elections, not a head of a state for forever. So take it the same way as I said, take it to the leaders, to the government, to the church, to the mosque, to people or the leaders of the what are called native priests, because in Africa we have two, the Christianity and the native gods or path of belief, and explain to them that that's what it is you're responsible for. Is worth staying in power for another 5 or 10 years. The soul that you have to, you pay with your soul, and this is what the consequence is. And then we will see. You don't play conscious. You understand, you explain the state of the soul. The solution for being a leader is not death of men. The solution to be the head of the church is not the church, the mosque have to explain to the presidential, to whatever, as we do, the same as you do with the government, that is their soul which are responsible for it.
Okay, Mr. Kesh.
They are responsible for the death. You understand? The
Yes.
constitution, what's the excuse tomorrow? Somebody ate too much more, somebody wants to take more, somebody wants to be something else. We making man responsible, understanding his soul is his creator and responsible for his, what I call as a balancer. We take all these things out, the nationalism, the prejudices, wanting to be in position to be more in power. We see this all over Africa. We see this even in Asia. We see this in Western Europe now. The 2-term is internationally agreed that no one can stay more. But we've seen the way some leaders find a way to go out and come back in and change position, but to still be in position of power. We have to explain, you do whatever you like in position of whatever, but no soul can be touched, nobody can be killed. You are responsible, not the man who pulls the bullet, to shot the gun. The man who created the condition is responsible for it too. And then tell the president you're responsible for 1 million deaths, 100,000 deaths, 10,000 deaths, even 1 death. And then let them be judge of their own. Says, now your soul has to pay for this. Well, your soul is responsible for this, for the soul of the children and everybody else which you hurt. Then you will see the change.
Okay.
Man doesn't sleep in the temple of the body of man. Man sleeps in the temple of the soul of the man. And the sooner the world leaders understand, the faster we move out of these mayhems of nationalism, leadership, and the rest of it. Maybe Togo is the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Explain this to your leaders. Thank you very much. Do we see anybody from Caribbeans who can tell us any more, or do we see any results, any discussion coming from that part? We know Tom is on his way back to the island. We have guaranteed all his expenses to Keshe Foundation and all of us.
I see Tom is
Pardon?
in our, has been just coming in as a panelist here now, I believe. Should be able to speak now.
Yes, I see. Tom, would you like to enlighten us?
Hi, Mr. Keshe. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tom. Good afternoon. We guaranteed all your expenses and all your tickets and the support as you asked. What's the
Thank you.
with us
now? Yeah, Carolina had let me know that you'd given us the go-ahead. Thanks a lot for that. So we're just in the process of organizing what's needed, how to travel, what's the best point of entry, because getting into the islands is limited. Quite often the airports are not functioning properly and so on. So I think we're going to have to go in by plane into one of the neighboring islands and then in on a boat. Just trying to work out what supplies we're going to be able to get access to on island. And if there's anything that we can't bring in, if there's anything we can't find on island that we can take in. And I think it sounds like there are, like, one of the main pharmacies on the island is open where you can buy materials that we'll need for like paint patches and so on. So I think I'm going to travel light. I don't think I'm going to need to take too much. And I've been communicating with some of the team who were on their way to Puerto Rico also. And we're trying to find out from Sheila what's there available on the ground in Puerto Rico, to sort of, for those guys to organize themselves also. I've had communication with a friend who was in Dominica and who is now off island, and she was giving me some good information about the state of things there at the moment. And it sounds like it's...
What is the state?
It's not good, really. It's there's bits and pieces of aid getting into the island, but then, as is the way with these small islands, everything is getting politicized, and if you're sitting on the right side of the fence, you'll get something, and if you're not, you won't. And so that's causing frustration. And Dominica's an island that's almost like village by village. You'll have one village will be siding with one political party, and then another one with another, and there's...
Can I ask you something, Tom?
Yeah.
Does the local radio operates that most of the villages can listen to?
I think so. I think one of the radio stations is up and running, yeah.
Approach, when you land, when you reach, approach the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them you want to buy half an hour of time for the Keshe Foundation to teach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some of the people in the radio already, because I had a little cafe on the island before, so I know some of them.
Okay. So see what you can do instead of going village by village. If we can buy airtime, see how much they want. Look, they need money now, especially in bad time, and use the radio to message.
Yep.
Instead of going one by one, see what would be the cost of the having this. Explain to them if they want to be paid, they are there to help everybody else, and they can teach and they can learn. And use, for example, what you did last time when you were there. That the people who already been helped, they can, can come and explain what they did and how they helped themselves, that they know it already exists. It's not something they need to do.
I think the radio station are pretty open there. They're pretty open to folks coming in, and just they usually, there wouldn't be a cost, I don't think. You can more or less just walk in and arrange a day. So yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, arrange a regular date, every day, such a side time, every other day, Monday, Wednesday, whatever, because this is what we are doing in looking into Ghana. That teach twice a week, quarter an hour, half an hour a week in public, using the television channel, radio channel.
Yeah.
If you have the radio channels, try to use it. You find out you don't need to go village by village. You can teach in one go to whoever it is. People will try it, and then it becomes part of the nation structure.
Yeah. One of the biggest issues out there is because it's a mountainous little island, and it just basically it's like 9 volcanoes, and so it just comes straight out of the ocean and straight up. So, and it's more or less jungle, rainforest, or it was. So getting from A to B is next to impossible. Most of the villages are still, you can walk from one to the other, but trying to travel in a vehicle, I think, is still next to impossible. So that's probably a good way of getting around that issue.
Try to see what you can do. I want to suggest something, because I've seen you working before. I'll make you an offer. Put a team of rescue program for all kind of disasters or whatever situations which will come, and head it to make what I call international rescue team out of all the knowledge seekers around the world for disasters, and if you can head it, the foundation will support you.
Run that by me again.
Somebody with you. I pass it by you. You heard exactly what I said. I would like you because
I'm writing at the same time.
Yeah, you have the experience, and I've seen you working perfectly last time in the island, in dedication and the work you've done, and you understood the problem. I would like you to head the disaster section of the Keshe Foundation. That we start training people, we start having in the factories, you coordinate between the factories and everything else. That in time of disaster like this, we have already preset or program preset people around the world ready to react in any part of the world. We need a coordinator for these things, and I don't think we have anybody better than you, because you've been there, you understand the soul of the problem. It's not just to handle it. And the way you're doing in Puerto Rico, and you've done before in the islands, and you understand the other problems.
Yep, anything I can do to help, I'm happy to help. It's like it's a seasonal thing, right? When we get this time of year is when all the chaos comes in, then it'll quieten off for 7-8 months, and then bang, back in again, and we can see that it's getting.
The earthquake. We have the earthquakes, we have the tornadoes, we have the hurricanes, we call it different names.
I was going to say, there's no shortage of work on this planet as far as disasters go.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, and no off season.
We are in season 7 days of the week.
There used to be an off season, and it's getting less and less, right?
We don't know yet, but I think we can talk in the background, Tom, for you to set a structure to respond to these things.
Sure. Well, it's a very simple, like as we chatted last week, it's not a complicated thing that it needs to be, really. It just needs, the complicated part is organizing the people side of it. The information needs to be.
That's why we are giving the complicated side to you.
The information side of it is pretty simple, really. We're having a meeting on tomorrow morning, I think it is, with Carrie, right? Kirsta Ellis, who's been doing some she's been promoting the Keshe Foundation's work, doing podcasts and stuff. And she wants to organize or help to organize a little podcast, I think it is, that's we're going to discuss all this stuff with some of the other knowledge seekers and people who are involved, and kind of come up with a simple solutions list. And it's along those lines that we need to go, really, where it's just so everything gets simply laid out with simple information, and then it's a case of just putting it in the hands of the teams that are going out into the right areas, and off you go.
Okay, wait. Just wait, something is happening in the background. Let's see if we can establish something, then I'll tell you. 1 second, please.
Yeah, sure.
In the intermission here...
Just wait, please. Just wait. Wait, please. Just wait. Hello, Sheila.
Hi.
Hi, Sheila. Keshe speaking. Keshe speaking from Keshe Foundation. Can you hear me?
Who's speaking? I'm sorry.
Keshe from Keshe Foundation.
Yeah.
Good afternoon or good evening.
Oh, is that?
Yes, Sheila. I have you live. We have you live on the live program in the Keshe Foundation. Can you tell us what's the status in your area? Because you raised the alarm, and we want to know how we can help and how we can get people in. What do you need, and how can we help?
Okay. Well, the problem here was really big because all the island was affected by the hurricane. It was almost a five storm, a category storm. So it was really strong. And we have a lot of poor people on the island, which had wood houses and zinc ceilings, and a lot of people lost their homes. There's a lot of people that don't have oxygen at the hospitals and at the houses because oxygen is scarce on the island at the moment. And well, there's so many situations, you know, after a hurricane, everyone is feeling, you know, lacking of what they need. So at the moment, we were waiting for some starts from the U.S. government, and they have not given us any at the moment. It's almost a month after the hurricane, and some days it rains a lot. Right now today it's really sunny, so we know on the weekend we don't have any much rain. But you know, things are getting better. People are coming over and they're bringing food, and a lot of people are sending food and water. And the thing is that without electricity, nothing works. Everything here is handled with generators through the electric companies. The water distribution from the water company is not working well, and the black waters or the used waters are we have a situation with that because the generators broke. And now anything that's working is working with gas or diesel or generators, you know, because the electric company has only been able to connect like about 90% of the island. But, you know, they have already contacted some people. I wanted to contact you, Mr. Cash, because they were asking for, you know, they wanted to do something better, and they wanted to go at least 20% renewable and they were asking for people if they wanted to offer the government some type of new ideas. So, you know, I thought that now, even though we're a colony of the U.S. government, but being an island and being on the situation that we are, that maybe we could be like starting point for the testing of the plasma energy or something. And what else can I tell you? Well,
what do you need? How can the Keshe Foundation?
I'm sorry?
How can the Keshe Foundation supporters support in the water or allowing the generators to be more efficient, you know, using other systems? Or what do you need as food or whatever that they can bring with them? Where can they go? We're trying to establish a base with you. How can we organize people to be with you?
I don't know, Mr. Cash. Water is very important right now because there's, you know, people are bringing bottled water, and people are still thirsty and don't have any water in their home.
Okay, can I?
The thing that
what I'll do, I'll try to see what we can do to get you a process that you can teach the people to purify the water themselves. I have your number.
That's one of the
biggest problem. I have your number. I try to contact you within the next 24 hours. Let me speak with the team in the background who are trying to reach you and are already working with you. And then we'll see how we can structure a way to help. Even without being there, you can let the people help themselves with the water. The water can be done very rapidly. The water, you can create pure water within a matter of hours, as much as you need.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let
that
me.
would be wonderful.
I'll call you back within 24 hours, and let me speak with the people around the United States and other places who've been trying to get to you, and we can sort the water immediately. That's not a problem. It's just how you can teach the people to use it. And regarding the food, if the food is not a problem, that becomes another point for us to help. And regarding the medical side, the acceptance of the medical systems in the time when people can help themselves, I'll contact you in 24 hours maximum, and I'll tell you what to do and how to do it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'm very grateful to you and your team.
Thank you very much.
Caroline.
Thank you indeed. Thank you indeed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now we hear, as we say in English, from the horse's mouth what is happening there and how they are. The water is not a problem. We have already solved this one in Ghana. We transfer blueprint directly to them what to do.
I welcome the same blueprint also, if you want to send it my way.
It'll be passed on to you. No problem. I'll get it transferred to you back into the, what do you call it, into the place. What is the position when you go in? How can we keep contact with you? When do you expect to go back in?
I'm thinking it'll probably be a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm going to go and check out the flight situation and everything today. And then I think it'll probably, we're looking at about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get organized here so that I can go off unhindered. But it sounds like communications are very sparse. It sounds like there's internet access in the capital in certain areas at certain times, but nothing full time. So I'll take my stuff with me and try and communicate when I can and document what I'm doing, and I'll send that through to you so you know what's happening. Probably Carolina's my best line of communication there. I'll just.
Yes, always been there. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like there's issues with accessing cash again. That same old chestnut. The banks got looted just after it happened, and that caused them to be very, very cautious. And so it sounds like now that there's a limitation on what funds you can access. I think you can access funds, but there's a limitation, a daily limitation, which I don't think it's too much different from normal, but I'll have to find out when I'm in there on the ground. So I'm going to travel with a certain amount of cash, I think, and then it's not.
If you let me know what you're thinking, we transfer that you take it with you, that you don't have to be dependent inside.
Perfect. And I think, like I said, I think I'm going to travel light going in because taking too much stuff is going to be an issue. I've been trying to get information on what's happening there on the ground, and a lot of people are complaining that they're just getting heavily taxed as they're moving through each country to get in. If they're holding supplies, they're getting taxed heavily, and then they end up so that they're hardly carrying any cash when they arrive, and that sounds like a bit of an issue. Which again,
what do you mean by that?
Getting taxed by the port authorities. You know, if they're holding, if they're bringing any aid, if they've got a suitcase that's just full of Band-Aids and medical supplies and iodine and whatever, they're just getting heavily taxed on it when they're coming in, to the point where it can leave you broke at the time when you arrive. So
if you had, for example, a high-tech communication system in a suitcase or something, would they actually tax you on that?
Quite possibly. I think there's no mercy. You can go in there and say, I'm here to help, and I don't think there's much mercy for you if you going in like as an aid worker. I think in these small islands, Rick, what happens is you've got the guy you're dealing with in front of you, and according to what mood he's in, and according to if he's had his dinner that afternoon, you know, is how you'll get treated, and there's a kind of a random factor to it, which is very difficult to work out how to maneuver. Can
it help to have some influence from the top down? Maybe the Keshe Foundation or Mr. Keshe could smooth the way somehow through diplomacy or through those channels. Is that possible?
Yeah, for sure. As I said, as much info as we can go in with. If we've got documentation that's showing that we're there doing aid work and what have you, and we're working for a foundation, and that they don't want what they don't want is to see that there's a drain on the economy coming in. They want to see that you are able to hold yourself up. You're not going to just disappear into the island and never come back out again, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, as much info as we can walk in with is better. But again, there's this random factor to the small islands, which is just like, according to the guy you get, according to the mood he's in, but yeah, I mean, it is possible you can go in with communications equipment, but for that, I would want a backup, some backup from the foundation saying, this is who we are and this is what we're doing and this is why Tom is traveling with this equipment.
I'll arrange that for you, no problem. I'll get it done through to you, through Caroline, no problem. But assess what you need, because you answered yourself in so many ways. Assess what you need there for the time you're there, what you need to carry to spend time. We do the transfer the same as we done before.
Great.
But you don't need to wait.
Okay, I'm thinking we'll be there for about a month. I think that would be enough time.
We'll discuss that. Try to set a team behind, or we can get Keshe Foundation supporters to replace you as you move. They come in for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and somebody else will take over.
Sure.
Till the teaching is done. Try to set up a program this way.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you. Communicate through Caroline, and then we'll support you back on that.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your help. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Anything else regarding these matters?
Just mention there's a link from Yvonne in the chat directed to Tom about this guy Ray seems to have the information on boats and the situation, and I think Tom's already in communication with Yvonne, so that message should go through okay.
Vince, what is the situation? Can we set up a communication line for this, what we call it, disasters or whatever, the support, or what name you gave to it, that everybody can communicate through this Zoom line?
I'll chime in there and say yes, there is. Yes, we do have a couple of systems that I can show you.
Please, can you tell us how they...
Basically,
I think he's talking about just setting up a Zoom.
Just something so when Tom gets there, he can communicate with us in the world.
Yeah, but what about the people who want to support? What's the next step? How can they be involved?
Well, there's a couple of devices. The first one is a suitcase-sized device, and it's self-powered.
No.
He's not talking about that.
We're talking about facilities on Keshe Foundation internet work.
Oh.
In our systems.
So you're saying, like Mr. Keshe, like a common place where people can connect and find out what the latest information is and whether people are okay and that kind of thing? Is that what you mean?
Yes, how it is. If I want to help, if I have patches I want to send, we hear from Tom a new version of it that they even tax the aids coming in. So we have to see what can be done. And how, if somebody wants to help, where can they go exactly?
So
for a specific.
It sounds similar to the workshop, the hands-on workshop site in the community site that's been set up so that people can interconnect through workshops and so on. Maybe something similar to that could be set up.
Very exactly. What do we have set up in that direction? Can we set up something in that direction in our structure, which is well set? We should be able to accommodate these. A position that everybody can go on the chat line and says, I'm here, this is what I need, or what I have this, who wants to take it where they are going.
Is Vince there? Hello, Vince. Are you still available? Maybe he's not within audio range right now.
I see 4 members of the Earth Council already present here. So, Earth Council has already got this meeting.
Mr. Kesh, could I make a suggestion, please? It's Lisa
Go
from
ahead.
Earth
You don't make a suggestion with me, it's a suggestion on the table for everyone. It's better.
Something struck me many years ago. I went on a course and I learned some meditation techniques, and they were explaining how they had gone in after the Banda Aceh disaster in mid-2000s, and they had helped so many people with post-traumatic stress disorder because just teaching the meditation techniques. And I'm thinking, we mustn't forget the emotional support for all these people. And we do have the tools with the Think. I think we have to, as well as, helping people with the basics on the ground, I think we need to make sure that we understand we have to help them emotionally as well with the plasma.
Maybe that's actually the strong card of the Keshe Foundation rather than the material support. I think that soul support it's actually more important, it's more effective, and it's something that we can do perhaps better than the emergency hands-on support in a way, because it's so hard to get into these countries and to actually do things. It's hard enough for the support people, disaster relief, that have been doing it for years and even decades, and they can't even get in and be effective most of the time. They often have to wait for a week or two while everything settles down, while the dust settles literally, and then start to move into the situation. And that's a lot of responsibility, a lot of knowledge and so on. That I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Keshe?
I think what we got to do as we're growing to one nation, we have to, the way we are structuring the teachings done by to set up what they call the workshops, we have to make database for people in each country who is there ready to respond to disasters, and I start training them. We need to train people who can. We have millions of Keshe Foundation followers around the world, and we can put the first, we have to train people that they can respond to these things. And in the long term, in the long run, that they can be supported, that they can do the work. Maybe, as I asked Tom to head this part of the work, we can leave it to people like Tom to organize teams in each country gradually over next years, that we have a what I call response team, that they can respond to these. Where we know there is more possibility of disasters, we train more and more of the Keshe Foundation. And that we don't need to have people moved so much. We train locally based, and a number that in case we lose communication with some, we have the others who can support it. This has to become part of the structure of the Keshe Foundation work. And I'll speak with Tom in the background, trying to set such a structure up, where you can go and see where the workshop is, where the disaster, the support team are of the Keshe Foundation in each country, who they are and what they are responsible for. We need to take charge, responsibility for what we agreed to do, and this is part of it. This has to be part of it.
That certainly makes a lot more sense, Mr. Kesh. That's the sort of the inside-out approach rather than the outside-in approach, similar to the way the nanomaterials grow from the bottom up, from the grassroots up, rather than from the top down being imposed on the situation. And that seemed really good to have these teams essentially embedded into every, not just every country, but every area of every country, because we don't know when a disaster is going to hit any part of the world. I don't know of any part of the world that's not totally unsusceptible to some sort of disaster, including some of the ones that look safe right now. So we have to have these teams ready to go, like you say, and prepare them with training. So this will be the important thing in the next year or two. It makes sense.
We got to do it. We got to stick, as I said, our responsibility. There is a lot of development going in the background, which gives us this chance to do. And we got to see how we can organize ourselves internally.
Mr. Kesh, this ties in really intimately with the workshop series, actually, because that would be a natural way to disseminate this information through local workshops, local hands-on workshop sessions, and so on.
I think you're correct. Maybe we can use the people who are signing for workshops if they want to become member of what we call the support team for disasters or whatever. That when people not only go to learn about the making the magraves and the pads and the rest of it, but they know they can sign in. Maybe we can add a piece of bracket that in this training, I want to be a volunteer to support in the time of disaster. That are what I call attendees in these workshops. They get to understand and they attend in a different way than just making a benefit for themselves, that they're learning to benefit the others in time of disaster. Maybe it's something we have to discuss in the management team with Kevin and the teaching side and people who are responsible for workshops, that this become as part of the essential part of beginning part of the people.
The basic training, what's called the basic training that people receive.
Yeah. That they spend 2 or 3 hours maybe in part of the workshop has to become part of it. That they learn how to respond in disasters and they sign themselves to be there, like you become a donor of whatever. I'm there to be sponsored for it. That they can call on me or I'll be there to be there to do things.
Rick, good evening. It's Caroline. Do you remember, or Vince, the title we figured out to put on top of this mission? Do you remember how we phrased the title? Was it Support Keshe Foundation Team, or
I thought it was,
or was
like
it Keshe
Relief?
Keshe Relief?
Wasn't it? I think Relief was the word.
Was it Keshe Foundation Relief?
Was Plasma Relief. We call it the Plasma Relief. Yeah, there is a title. Vince is not there, we can't get it because he knows, and I don't see Stanley as website managers, they know what it is. We got to put these on the head of the Keshe Foundation website. That the disasters, we need to look for help for this area for the Keshe Foundation, and we look for support in this or that, or this is the plasma relief. These things has to be there in case of emergency. People can call us.
Yeah, but we have a title. We have a title or a banner to bring it all under one name.
It's called Plasma Relief. We already, I think, decided on that one.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. Hello, everybody. This is Alberto from United States. I'm from Puerto Rico also. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have a few observations that I would like to add to the team. For one, one of the things that is abundant down there right now, because the hurricane mangled all of the electrical wires, there's an abundance of copper wire everywhere that can be nano-coated to make coils. And everybody is using D batteries.
But whose property?
Whose property? That's a good question. That's a good question. But it's just lying alongside the roads everywhere along the streets.
These copper wires are highly thick.
Sir?
Maybe is the job of the people who work in Puerto Rico, listen to us in Puerto Rico. They can confirm, but you got to understand the nation needs wire these things back into reconnecting and restructuring. Once you take it out of the circulation, what is the government going to do? Where is it going to come from? At the moment, many people don't have this knowledge that they can use it. But okay, it solves the problem intermediary for a long term. But what's going to happen to the nation when we use people, Keshe Foundation supporters teach people to use these wires? Then it has to be bought, and it's very expensive.
Okay, well, there's a lot of batteries that are disposable batteries that are being thrown away also. That's a very good source of zinc.
So I think this is part of the teaching. You're very correct. This is part of, if you write like these items and send them to Tom, if you are in touch with Tom, that becomes part of the people, what they can do with the local materials to use it to do. That's a beautiful idea.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna need mosquito repellent down there too. I know that's covered in the emergency kit from Renan.
Yeah, we know that mosquito repellent can use mixture of CO2, zinc oxide, and copper oxide. I think it's 30% ratio, and it makes a very good repellent. And it's actually as a product which is coming out by one of the Keshe Foundation manufacturers in the next 3 months or so.
Very good. And
write these things down, please, and send them to us and to the, what do you call it, plasma, what do you call it, rescue at keshefoundation.org, and then we accumulate these things. We put plasma relief, yes.
Plasma relief, okay.
Yeah. And then
there is one.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, there is a delay in the communication. Go ahead, sir.
Carry on, I'm listening.
Okay, thank you. There is one more thing I would like to mention before I leave the line, and it's you mentioned earlier, not today, but you have mentioned before that if we make 2 dynamic reactors, one of them with 20% CO2, 80% zinc oxide, and the other one with just CO2, pure CO2, and we let them just run, that they will touch the emotion of man. If we can set 2 of these reactors in strategic parts all over the island, this should calm down the people and give them a sense of that all is not lost.
This can be done.
Yes, I believe this is very important.
We just see we got to make it social. My emotional dilemma and trouble is 80% of the problem in this situation, at least for the first 12 months we know. But this has to become part of, as you said, a kit of these programs, and how we can achieve it and how we can get to it to do it. It's part of growing up. We are restructuring, we are understanding, and please send this to the Plasma Relief and let's all become part of it to support the team.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. Any other comment?
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hey, everybody. This is Ted here in West Virginia. Can you hear me today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm wanting to add to all this with what we're doing here. I really support the relief effort, And I'm wondering here, as a United States citizen, if I can try to get you all some supplies to Tom without being taxed because it's part of my country. So I'm curious, I mean, I could be happy to mail some stuff down there, whatever he needs, maybe to like hotel or wherever he stays, a good address. Or if not, I could try to deliver in person if that's what needs to be happen, so that he can get what he needs.
Can you please send your information? In the background, do we have Todd's address? We have a huge number of supporters in the United States. They all can send things this way to Puerto Rico. But the problem is, with the Puerto Rican local authorities, tax what comes from United States too.
I don't think that they do that, Mr. Kesh. I've been to the Puerto Rico before, and I don't think that there's any claim for import-export because that's a part of the U.S. territories. So if I'm a U.S. citizen, I don't believe that applies to me in particular.
So
I'm not sure.
if we had a family, a couple who were ready to go to Puerto Rico, if I'm correct, do we have Todd's information in our database?
Todd, are you on Messenger, please? It's Caroline. Are you connected with me on Facebook?
I'm not connected anymore. They've removed my connection. I attempted to make another one today. They removed me again. So I'm not connected to you right now.
What do you mean they removed?
I can send you an email. I'll send you an email on your Spaceship Institute page, or would you rather? I can start a new account. I'll start a new Facebook account and add you on Messenger this evening, okay?
Have you tried the community site? I would suggest trying the community site, as I had set up the chat on the community site. So as long as you create an account through the community site, and I think, Caroline, you already have an account there, then you should be able to chat through there as well.
Okay, great. Well, that's what I'll do. I'll contact Caroline and try to get a hold of Tom and do my best to supply from the U.S. whatever he needs down there once he knows how to do it best. My pleasure. Thank you.
Perhaps Vince can explain a little more about the community site and how that works.
Well, I think we can set up private groups and have the people that will be deploying, let's say, or the teachers to be able to have a private group to communicate with each other, but then also be able to have a public group where they can communicate with the public as well as a group. And that way there's no personal information given out, and people can have accounts on the community site, still communicate regularly, and under the KF security. So we know that your personal information is not going to be taken.
For security, please send me a mail to my Spaceship Institute that I do not miss any of the communication with you, sir.
No problem.
Thank you. You got my email, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. I'll send you one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Please do not forget, I forgot your name, sorry. The person from West Virginia.
My name is Ted.
Ted.
Like Theodore. Yeah.
Theodore.
Yeah. Theodoro.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do not confuse that Tom is going to Dominica, which is not American territory. He's not going to Puerto Rico as he cannot go in there.
Okay.
So maybe people which are traveling to Puerto Rico can most probably then join him towards Dominica if they can have access to it. Because I was thinking in the background, the two teams to merge up somewhere, or one of the partners which are going in, so that they can travel between the two and see what is mostly needed to give the feedback back to the Keshe Foundation of the state of the condition there.
Maybe Tom could do a teaching session that could help people that were traveling to Puerto Rico from Dominica or some sort of thing like
I
that?
was thinking to maybe to send a team in with Tom towards Dominica to see how he builds it up from first hand, because he has the experience, and then maybe teach from there to Sheila, which is already in Puerto Rico. And then if Tom is more comfortable, then to move towards Puerto Rico with more experience, more hand down to what really can be done. It's just an idea.
Any other discussion? Anything else? Anything new that we might have to consider? What really shocked me and surprises me is what we heard from Puerto Rico, that they have received no support from United States in the disaster, but United States has 700 billion to make killing machines, military tools. A nation who cannot support his own nationals, spending 700 billion. Yes?
As a United States citizen, I'd like to add to this. And I'm hearing the same rumors that you're hearing. And as an average citizen and, you know, just a modest person, you know, we don't feel this is correct. Most of the people I know and discuss, we are expecting to take care of Puerto Rico because, you know, they expect us to take care of them. We wanted to have our flag on that terrain. Therefore, we are responsible. And I think that as the average citizen, I'd say about 99% of us feel like we need to get down there and do some work. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, you had the disasters, hurricanes recently yourselves in Florida and other part of the country every year. You had it a few weeks ago.
That's very true. That's very true.
But why doesn't the 700 billion get spent on supporting a nation than killing the nation? This is what puzzles me.
Well, that puzzles me too. I mean, it really wouldn't take much resources to load a few of these big old jet or big old, you know, cargo aircraft with some supplies and get them down there. You know what I mean? I support that 100%. And, you know, to be quite honest with you, I'm kind of flabbergasted as to why also, because I've got some connections down in Florida where that hurricane hit, and they took good care of them down there in Florida. Really quick response, not like the last hurricane down there, and so they're very proud of it down there. And then I feel like with Texas, we had a lot of people go from across the United States down to help them, and they're still there helping. And I feel like, yeah, Puerto Rico is getting the short end of the stick, and I'm not really in support of that. My wishes and intentions go towards using the money from taxes. I pay my taxes. I go to work, and I believe that money should go to where it needs to go to save lives when it needs to be done. So I'm in complete agreement with you, and I just want you to know that as a citizen of the United States and a citizen of Earth, I think I can speak for a majority of us that we agree with you. We would like that money to get spent in the right direction. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we have much control over that. We feel a lack of control in that area in our country. We feel powerless to be able to really decide what needs to be decided. And everybody seems to be kind of okay with that, which kind of bothers me a little bit because I have very high expectations for the morality of my country. I feel like a lot of people still look up to the United States, and we still have potential to become a very beautiful player in the game in the world.
That's
what has happened. Let me just say that what has happened is other people have had to step in. Like for example, Elon Musk from the SpaceX and Tesla car company and so on. That's he also has the Solex company, which is a major solar panel company, and he was in talks with the head of Puerto Rico immediately after the disaster, and they're planning on setting up a major revitalization of the grid network with solar panels and batteries, the new battery systems. So this is what happens when the government doesn't step in, then independent private enterprise does to try to come up with a solution. Also, when the cell towers go down, then they, people like Google come in and put up balloons with cell, trying to broadcast from the cell with balloons and with drones and this kind of thing. But it's sort of a band-aid situation. Solar panels aren't going to work. In the next storm, they get broken up and ripped off the roofs and so on. It's not a good long-term solution. So, Mr. Cash, maybe that's, it's such a good opportunity. I know that we have to wait as people on Earth for the right timing for the standalone generator, because it's such a revolutionary idea that it displaces so much of the current technology and so on. But yet, these kind of disasters are such an opportunity because the existing infrastructure is so ripped down.
I'm going to answer. I'm going to stop
Thank
you
you.
there. I have to stop you there, Rick.
Okay.
These disasters will be covered up if the motherland does not look after an island and spend 700 billion on making guns and killing machines. You'll understand these disasters are totally irrelevant for the people who sit in the big houses who make the decisions. We play the card in a way that the big houses need the support. That's the time when the change comes, and we are very near to it. These little islands, few hundred people, are totally few thousand people, tens of thousands of people. To these people in these big houses are absolutely irrelevant in the game they're set to play. We know and we understand, and we are very active in the background in changing the course. And we know roughly how and the way it's got to be done. And we have received enough support to change. In next few weeks, in next few months, a lot of people who watch and support Keshe Foundation will run around to call themselves, I've been with the Keshe Foundation a long time. It becomes something I knew I've done. But we've seen a lot of changes. We see a lot of changes because we need to bring these changes in the right time, in the right place. But essentially, we have to play the energy game in a way that we paralyze the need for the energy, not in a way to create destruction. And if we don't do it the right way, the refineries will not be paid. It will not be worth digging oil. Digging oil becomes so cheap that then you'll find that the people we're trying to help we hurt more, because no power generation will run. No power supply, none of the refineries will work because it's not worth refining, and none of the power stations which use the fuel, majority of them will run. There is a tip point balance, and we are considering this. That one of the tip point balance is creating a large number of manufacturing bases, which we are working on very rapidly in the background. The Keshe Foundation team, in so many different ways, working in 2 different directions. Gradually, in next 12 months, 18 months, we'll see emergence of a huge number of Keshe Foundation factories around the world in different countries. Setting up the first basics is taking time, but once it's done, it just becomes a rollover. Then we can support the change that we don't damage the needy. People do not understand, and they keep on telling me, say you don't understand. You really don't understand the implication of this change. We saw how it was not worth digging any more oil out of the North Sea. They capped it because they waited for the price to go over $40, $50 a barrel. When you kill the demand for the oil, many countries depend on oil to light the streets, to put electricity in the houses. Then we actually hurt those people. Refineries is not worth refining. Oil companies will not produce oil. The demand is so rapid changing. People will stop using. We have a number of choices and we are closely looking at it. The choices are to work. We don't rely on the United States at all. United States is out of the frame of the Keshe Foundation calculation. We work on the nations which actually are effectively are there to change the parameters. We are looking at BRIC. We are looking at other organizations where we can pre-arrange with governments the implication and application of these new technologies. Western world will not respond so rapidly. Freestanding energy systems is the end of the present currency of the work, and it brings a lot of independence. We are working on 3 or 4 different directions that it has to be. I've explained it in a very open way, but it's been so open that people have not seen it, that will change everything in one go. And we just need to few more months to have everything in position the way we want it, and then we deliver the what we call the true knowledge, the new technology. But it needs a lot of patience, and as people know, I've got a long patience, and this is part of the work of this structure. We are targeting a manufacturing parameters of 100,000 to 500,000 square meters around the world. We're targeting that direction. We're talking at about 1,000 to 2,000 square meters, at least in 100 to 150 nations around the world. We are working, the system is there. We're 100,000 to 500,000 square meters of manufacturing capability, capacity, which we are targeting. We are somewhere around about 10% of it as we see it now, maybe 15% of it. Then it gives us the other 45,000 in the next 12 months and the balance of 100 to 500,000 in the next 24 months. This will change the balance, because I know exactly what it means having that kind of capability to produce in the nation, in the name of the nation. So nothing can be blocked out as it's outside the investment, and it's outside, it's done by the nation for the nation. We don't play the national game, we play as one nation, one planet. And this is, it needs a lot of understanding, a lot of planning, and everything is on course. We should be able to achieve 15,000 to 20,000 square meters of production area around the world by the end of this year, maybe even more. Then this gives us a lot of capabilities. We need to have this to be able to put the technology on the floor, on the street, in the house of the people, that then it forces the condition. Some of you who were in the teaching this morning, you understand it takes a lot of energy. The teaching of this morning, I could not carry on after an hour and a half, whatever, of teaching, because I teach through my soul and I reach the soul of the people. It's not just a word. Today's type of teaching will become very known. You hear the voice, but I teach the soul. I reach the soul of the man. This is how the teaching is going to be, and I explained it in a very, very hidden way to those who understood. We change through a different phenomena, to a different way from now on. And those who understand it or understood the teaching will follow it. I never take rest, usually, hardly, maybe sometimes. But today, after not enough teaching, I had no energy left, because I teach through my soul. And I needed nearly 3 hours of just rest, which is very unusual, just to recover. We have changed the direction. To teach, to reach through the soul takes a lot. And this is where we're targeting. We reach the soul of the leaders, world leaders, in a very different way. I have excluded the American leaders because they have a different agenda and they have a purpose to serve. You got to understand, when they use what we saw in Togo, a religion to frighten the others, or to put one, what they call scarecrow, for the others to be frightened enough that they buy arms out of this scarecrow they did with Iran. Now with the technology, the way we plan, the way it's working, the American becomes the screw of peace. It's beautifully coming out the way I planned it. Whoever associates themselves with the United States is a part of what we call the killing machine. The nation's soul has to pay. Very short while, you'll see American stands with the 700 billion in the bank they cannot spend for nothing. This is the way to do it. And I taught that way to Togo today. Who likes to go out with murderers? Who likes to go out with the thief of the soul of the man? This is the way it has to be. We change the gun policy to the soul policy, and it works much better, because when the soul doesn't follow, the gun has no meaning. Any other solution to any other problems around the world?
There was a question in the Q&A from Mothirajan, who asked earlier when you were talking about with Paul, basically, is this the thing? Is this the same thing that's happening in India, Mr. Kesh? Because we had demonetization, robbing of resources, etc., but nothing came of it, or nothing.
What do you mean?
It says, but everything is a failure. It didn't work out.
For whom and where?
This is Moti from the Universal Council from India, representative.
Saying what? I don't understand.
Perhaps we can bring them in to allow them to talk here. Maybe they can explain what they mean.
He's meaning that he saw the same sequence as is happening in Togo, but it didn't bear any fruits.
What do you mean by the Muslim rising?
I think he was referring to when they demonetized last year.
This is Mosfeq speaking. I know a little bit about it. The large currencies were taken out of circulation in India, and nothing has changed as a result of it. That's the short version of what he's trying to get. But Moti can explain better, I'm sure.
Is he there? Can I ask a question while we're all here? Is there...
Sorry, Mr. Kesh, he does say he would like to speak a little bit. If you have
just
time
ask
for
me
that.
a question, just in the background. The Earth Council was supposed to meet tonight. Is it going to meet, or shall we delay to another day?
It's up to you, Mr. Kesh. I mean, we can go into a meeting when we're finished here. It's fine.
Because it will be the right time for other people. Would everybody be available?
We can always go into the meeting straight after this.
Afterwards. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Would you like to speak now, Mothirajan? I'll unmute your microphone and see if you can speak there. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello,
hi.
can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Oh, hi. Hello. I'm Moti from India. we had a lot of changes in our constitution. They called something called as demonetization. They reversed back the currency, 500 rupees and 1000 rupees currency, and they introduced a new thing. So a lot of things, new things they started introducing. But as nearly more than 1.5 years are passing off, we are seeing that all the plans are failing in India, and they are giving more and more loans to the multinational corporation, and they're depriving ordinary and local people from their livelihood. Do you see the same thing which is happening in Togo in India also? And we are grabbed up for natural resources also, very silently, that people don't even know about it. Yeah, that's what I thought about it, because even in Togo he explained the same thing, that group is giving money to both sides and causing a trouble. Hello?
We are
Yes.
listening. We are listening.
I just finished talking.
Thank you very much. There is, we, as part of a multinational organization on this planet, it's become tradition that one nation tries to cover itself against another nation with different ways, or internally, every time a group comes into power, changes everything, that it brings benefit to its supporters and destroying the others. We see that in every election which is coming up. Mono-policy party has never worked. Multi-policy has never worked, because you are always on one side or the other. You fight, or you lose, or you win, and the next time is the reverse. And it created a mayhem. If the energy and resource of the man goes in one way, that we don't need to elect leaders, but we all become the leaders of our own soul and work on those bases, all these things will change. The establishment of the governments has been to create division. If you really look into structure of any government, governing through division has always been the key to control. The whole structure of the present world politics depends on it. The people who structure these things in the background, they work on it, they live on it, because this way they always have a reason to fight or to justify to do something. The process of one nation, one policy, when the Earth Council members in the coming time make the decision, is for every man equal across this planet. Because what they decide, for example, is in the African continent to be good, the Africans live in North America and the others, so it affects them. It's a perfect combination for a just cause, just leadership. Because I don't decide that there are people, we call it the Togo now, because the Togans live in the United States, live in Asia and everywhere else. What I do wrong to the people here, they do wrong to my people, so it all becomes balanced. Then we see all these things gradually dies. Changes will take not much, because it's a correct change. People will take it and run with it. In India, for example, we've been told, you want to pay electricity bill in the bank or the post office, you have to pay your bill, otherwise they won't let you pay. Because they pay with the counter, the guys got used to it. But if you explain to the man behind the counter, if I have to pay you to pay my bills for my child not to go hungry, that I can't cook at home or have electricity to educate him, is your soul responsible for this? He understands it, would he do this? If the government understand that they're responsible for looking after correctly of their staff or the people, then we'll see changes. This change will come like a wind. It'll go through the whole thing. It'll be a hurricane for the scientific and the science and the whole social structure. And we see the, what I call, breezes of it have started. As I said in other teachings, we don't discuss anymore these things because we work in a different way now. We work in a very, very correct, but a silent way, but very sound and correct, not on the internet, but in the corridors of power. We become extremely influential and we know it, and we work through it, but to structure it the right way, we are doing it the right way. The Keshe Foundation team worldwide, some they know each other, some they don't, is working in a very effective way. What I said, we are learning how to understand the peacefulness use of the technology through the peaceful, through the soul of the man. And this is the weapon we have. Technology, which is for peace, but we have to know how to use it. Shall we get together on Sunday, if possible, to see what's the development on Togo and the hurricanes, and we'll see, maybe from these positions we can create sections of the Keshe Foundation who can respond not only to hurricanes, but what we learned from Togo, we have a team that can go directly into negotiation with governments in these conditions. We have to become master of negotiations, not only for the physicality of the man, but the soul of the man. We are learning, and that's part of this, part of the, what I call council, open council meeting is this. That the Universal Council, the Earth Council and the core team have to create a negotiating team for governments. We move in, we negotiate. And we have to do it openly, that we are there to negotiate. Maybe this is one of the gains of past two discussions on this. First of all, setting up of the disaster, what I call relief, which hopefully Tom will head it, because I enjoyed his work last time. His sincerity and correct conduct is beyond belief. But in so many ways, situation pushes us to the point to test and understand. And do we need, the councils need to meet to organize a negotiating team. Peace negotiating, when we see conditions like Togo, we move in with the Keshe Foundation supporters as a team, we move in immediately. We don't allow it to come to this extent. But we need men of wisdom who understand the work of the physicality. When Paul was explaining, and then we had the explanation by his colleague, it opened a lot of things for me. This is a red book. I've read this story too many times. I could tell you, as I said, and they see them in the past 2 days, they confirm in one way or another. This is a pattern of the work, and we are working with governments to stop these people who in the background who do this. Very soon we put an end into it. Very, very soon. The Keshe Foundation is moving to put an end to the people who are continuously creating these conditions around the world. And strange enough, the leaders of these structures soon will be brought to the table of justice. You'll be puzzled. Not by us, but by governments. What we call the rogues of the peace, the world peace, very soon will be brought on the table of justice. Because they got away with in times to it by disguise, but this time the hand is open, the government has seen what is happening. We saw it in the United Nations, and then the rest has followed. Any other points, or shall we call it a day today? Meet at 6 o'clock on Sunday, the same time. We'll see where we go from there.
Okay, Flint asked whether it'll be 3 sessions a week. going on
No,
into the future?
we go through with this. This we'll see what we do with these situations. We are learning a lot. We're structuring, and let's see. For the time being, we go on session by session, but we keep the Tuesdays as a permanent case till these cases are solved.
Okay, perfect.
We meet on Sunday at 6 o'clock.
Sunday at 6 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you.
Yes, please, Tom and the others who work around this, and I try to sort out the situation with Puerto Rico as I spoke, see how we can support, how we can help them, and how I work with the Keshe Foundation manufacturing team to pass on the systems they need to use for the water, because that can be done immediately. Can I ask for the meeting of the Keshe Foundation management team tomorrow, if possible, please? That we can put this in order, how we can do it. That we can support Puerto Rico for the clean water at least.
Good afternoon, Mr. Keshe.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, everybody. This is Boniface from California.
Yes.
I have a brief comment and a short question. The comment was, I was in the teaching this morning that you gave about the soul of man. I just want to say I very much appreciate it. I can understand why it took so much out of you. My question has to do with what I see as a common thread to all the man-made difficulties that we're experiencing around the globe. It has to do with banking and what other people call the money changers. I sent a letter about some of the observations concerning banking to the webmasters for the leadership team to review and consider. I just want to verify that it's been received and it's being looked at or not. I have no confirmation that that is the case. That's all I want to know.
Wins, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you confirm the receipts of this?
Sorry, I was on another task. Can you say that again?
I sent a note to the leadership team via webmasters concerning banking. Forwarded to the leadership team for consideration. That is correct.
Okay, I have seen some stuff from you, Boniface, that I have forwarded off to certain departments. But let me just check to see if I find something like that.
The management team meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m., please.
Okay, that sounds good. Maybe we can work this out with Boniface later. We don't need to take public time to do this.
No problem. Have we received this communication, please, Vince? Can you see it?
I'm looking. I have found something that was received by the webmasters and the education team.
Okay, I would appreciate it if it could be considered. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you indeed. Shall we call it a day, please?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Another good day here.
Can we have the, what I call the sing-song as you say goodbye with the music?
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder, and I'm sure Flint is ready at the switch. This has been the 11th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. And thank you everybody for attending. And it's end of the session for Thursday, October 19th, 2017.